Welcome to the on-air radio room. You'll notice that this room has an on-air radio board to do live radio projects. There's a few differences in this board that I want to point out, and then I'm going to tell you how to get started on your projects. Okay, to start with, I'll go down the row on one of these audio channels. These channels are just repeated from one strip to the next to the next. Your source AB determines which input you're going to use. In this case, we only have one with two inputs, and that's to switch it between the DAT player and the cassette player. Next, you assign the output. So this is a routing to the program, which would be your on-air signal, or your audition. If we had a separate set of audition speakers, you could hear it in the radio control room without it going out to air. And if you have a telephone signal where you're taking live calls, you have to be able to route the audio source back through the telephone line because the listener can't have their radio up while they're talking on the phone, otherwise you would get feedback. So you have to feed their audio back through the telephone lines. You can also put things in queue. Queue used to be used a lot more with CD players and record players, but what queue does is I can play a CD to a certain point in a song, pause it, in queue so I can listen to it without it going out on air, and then when I put it back into program and I hit play on the CD player, it will go out on the air in the program channel. So those are the routing portion of the audio strip. This controls the volume level for the channel, and this turns it on or turns it off. Really simple. You'll notice on this board there is no master, there is no main fader. So once something is up and turned on, it's live. Test 1, 2, you'll see that my VU meter is bouncing. I want it to peak around 0. This is an analog board, so there's headroom built into it, so you want the peak to be about 0. If it goes over 0, that's okay, as long as it's not doing what we call pegging. Hello, test 1, 2, do you see how it pegs really hard against the 3? So you want to back it off. You want your voice to be around 0. When you play music, you want it to be around 0. Another thing that this board does that the program board did not do is when you turn the microphone on, it will mute the speakers. The reason this happens is because it will automatically prevent feedback. On-air radio boards are a lot easier to use than production boards because a lot of times you get radio personalities that don't actually have a lot of experience running the technology. So you might get somebody who is great at talking about sports, but they don't know much about radio. Each channel repeats itself, again with the exception that when the microphone's on, it'll mute the speakers. So if I want to play the computer audio, I have to turn it on, bring it up, and you'll notice I'll also have to come over here and hit play on the computer.
You are listening to the Amy B Show on the UCM Media Network.
And you'll notice that when I turn the microphone on, it will mute the speakers. Now with this on and this up, you can see the levels, I'm still hearing and sending out to air what's playing on the computer. It's just the speakers are muted. So while you're doing your on-air show, you really need to use headphones. And I can hear the computer in the headphones with the audio on it. So during your show, you're going to want to fade the music in and fade it out, and you'll want to open and close the microphone. So when you want to talk, you'll hit on and you'll start to talk, and then you'll close the microphone and bring the music up. And then fade the music out, open the mic, and then talk. And then turn the mic off, fade the music up. Fade the music out, and the whole time you're listening to it on the headphones to make sure that you are mixing it and fading it, cross-fading it. So as you stop talking, you're bringing the music under and then up full, so it's underneath your voice for a period of time. Okay, the other section of this over here just controls the volume level. So this is the volume for your headphones, and this is the volume for the speakers. We don't have a set of control room speakers, and we don't really use the queue because we hardly use CDs or records anymore, so we leave that off. You'll also notice there's a routing section up here. I can route the speakers differently if I want to. For example, these control room speakers I could set just to audition and not the program. I don't know why you would want to do that, but if you did, you could. The other thing down here you'll notice is a timer. So when you're getting ready to start your show and you're going to start talking, you'll turn this on and you'll start your timer. Hello, welcome to the Steve Price Radio Show. On this show, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about the Kansas City Royals, blah, blah, blah. When you're done, then you'll hit stop, and hopefully you'll be at 5 minutes. That's how you know where you're at as far as your 5-minute stop set goes. If you mess up, you stop it, start over, hit the reset button, and that will reset it. You won't need this function, but the hold button will actually hold that number up on the screen while it still counts down in the background. So you'll notice when I release the hold button, it'll now be at 10 seconds, 11, 12, and it's held it at 3. That's so that if I'm doing something live on the air and something happens during that time, I can write down the exact time that it happened. So I hold that, write the time down, and then I let it go, and my show clock is still continuing. So let's talk about how to get started with your project. To begin, put your songs in a playlist in iTunes and anything else you want to roll in. If you're not as familiar with PCs, you'll want to hit the Start button down in the lower left-hand corner in order to open up Audacity and iTunes. Audacity will be the program we're going to record to, and you'll need iTunes to play back the songs or the roll-ins that you want for your radio show. If you're not familiar with iTunes, you'll want to start by adding your file to the library. This will add your music. You'll need to bring in your music on a thumb drive because there is no internet access on this computer. Then you'll want to create a new playlist and name that playlist probably your first and last name. You can see that other people have set up playlists on iTunes as well. After that, you'll want to click on the Music tab and drag the songs that you imported into the library over into your playlist, then put them in the right order that you want them to play back during your stop set in. Once I've gotten my audio playlist set up in iTunes, I'm ready to do my mic check and set my levels and to check that I have computer audio. So I'm going to play something on the computer, I'm going to turn the computer channel on, and I'm going to make sure that something is playing. I should be getting levels and I should hear it in the speakers. If that's good, I'm going to fade this all the way out. I'm probably going to leave the computer on because music you want to fade in and fade out. I'm also going to do a mic check and set the levels for the microphones. So I'm going to turn the microphone on and bring it up. And I want it to be peaking around 0, as I said before. In this case, with the microphone, once you get the level set right, go ahead and just turn it off. With the mic, you can open it and close it. That way, you won't have to ride the levels most of the time while you're talking. If you get really loud, bring it back. If you get really soft, bring it up. But for the most part, you should be right around that baseline that you set in your mic check. And therefore, you can just turn the mic on to open it and off to close it. When you're mixing the levels, you'll want to wear headphones so that you can hear the mix between the music on the computer and your voice levels on the microphone. This is part of being a radio DJ. As you fade the music up, you're still talking, and you want it to be underneath your voice, probably somewhere down here. When you get done talking, you're going to bring it all the way up until it's peaking around 0, and then you're going to turn your mic off and close it. When the song is done, you're going to open your mic, let it start to finish and fade it out, start talking while it's still going, and then as the music ends or fades out, you're going to launch into your full talk. So this is called mixing on a live board, and the idea is that you always want there to be something on the air, either music or voice, and as you transition from one to the other, you want to crossfade it so that there's always something there. Another thing I like to do when I first come into the board is turn things off just to make sure that I don't get any other audio. You can see some of these buttons are burnt out. The lights in them are burnt out. That's pretty common in a radio studio. So you want to make sure that things are off, including the microphone, while you're doing your check for your audio on the computer. Don't forget to wear your headphones and use the timer if you want to make sure that you hit exactly 5 minutes. When you're done recording your project, go ahead and turn it in to me by putting it in the Comm 2411 audio production folder. Make sure that the file has your name on it. Good luck!